Okay, so have you ever heard like your boss or maybe someone higher up say something like, we're like a family here?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
It's like so common now, you know?
Well,
They're always trying to make it sound like they care.
right, like we're all in it together or some nonsense like
No,
that.
we're all in this together. It's
Yeah.
supposed to make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah. But is it really true, though?
That's exactly what we're diving deep into today. You know, we're looking at this article, Corporate Language Critique, the family myth. And
I love that title, by the way.
it's catchy, right?
Yeah.
It really gets you thinking.
It does. It cuts right to the chase.
It does. So we're going to take this article apart and see what it's all about. See if that whole family thing is just a bunch of hot air,
I think we can all relate to that.
right? Because at the end of the day, we all want to know how to deal with this kind of talk, you
Yeah.
know, how to navigate it so it doesn't trip us up in our careers.
Absolutely. Because let's face it, a lot of this talk is just that. It's just talk.
Right? So this article doesn't pull any punches. It comes right out and says corporations aren't families. They're businesses.
They are. And, their main goal is profit.
Mm.
The bottom line. It's about making money for the shareholders.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, businesses need to make money. That's how the world works.
Mhm.
But the article's point is that this whole family thing can be misleading.
Oh, absolutely. It's like they're trying to make you feel like you owe them something.
Right. Like you have some kind of deep obligation to the company.
Exactly. Because you're family.
And that can be really dangerous
Yeah.
because it can cloud your judgment.
Yeah.
It can make you make decisions that aren't in your best interest.
Like working late all the time or not taking time off.
Or even, sticking around in a job that's not right for you.
Exactly. Because you feel like you're letting the family down if you leave.
And the article gives this great example about layoffs.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part.
It says, would a real family just fire a member when times get tough? Probably not.
Definitely not.
But in the corporate world, it happens all the time.
All the time. It's just a normal part of doing business.
Exactly. So that right there shows you the difference between a real family and this corporate family they try to sell you on.
Right. It's like this, if you think about it, real families are built on unconditional love and support.
Right. You're there for each other no matter what.
But in the corporate world, your relationship with the company is basically a contract.
You do your job, they pay you.
It's a transaction. That's all.
And that's important to remember because it helps you keep things in perspective.
It really does.
So the article goes on to list a bunch of these like red flags, these phrases that companies use to try and get you to buy into this whole family myth.
I love that they call them red flags.
Right. It's like, watch out for these things.
Wow.
So one of them is this phrase, we're all in this together.
Yeah, like we're all rowing the boat in the same direction.
And it sounds good on the surface.
Right.
Right? Like who wouldn't want to be part of a team that's working towards a common goal?
But the problem is that it often ignores the power dynamics at play.
Exactly. It's like they're trying to pretend that everyone's on an equal playing field when they're not.
And that can make it hard to speak up when you have a concern or you disagree with something.
Or to negotiate for what you're worth.
Absolutely.
Another red flag the article mentions is all this like forced team building stuff.
Oh, yeah. The trust falls and all that.
Right. It's like they're trying to manufacture closeness and camaraderie when it should happen organically.
And it can feel really fake and inauthentic.
Totally.
Yeah.
So why do companies do this? Why use all this language if it's not really true?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons. One is that it can help boost morale.
If you feel like you're part of a family, you're more likely to be happy at work.
And more productive, too.
And it can also make it easier for companies to do things that might otherwise be unpopular.
Like layoffs or salary cuts.
Because if you think of the company as a family, you're more likely to accept these things as necessary sacrifices.
Right. It's for the good of the family.
So what's the takeaway here? How do we as employees navigate this whole corporate language thing?
Well, the article gives some really good advice. The first thing is to be aware of the power of language.
Like how it can be used to influence your thinking and behavior.
Exactly. So when you hear these phrases like, we're a family or we're all in this together, take a step back and think about what they really mean.
And what the company's true motivations might be.
The second thing is to remember that your relationship with your employer is a business transaction.
It's not personal.
You're there to do a job and get paid for it.
And that's perfectly fine.
It is. You don't have to pretend like you're part of a big, happy family to be a good employee.
In fact, the article argues that setting boundaries can actually make you a more effective worker.
Because it allows you to focus on your job and not get bogged down in all this emotional stuff.
And it can also help you avoid burnout.
Absolutely.
So the next time you hear someone talking about the company being a family, remember what we've discussed today.
Be skeptical.
Think critically about what they're saying.
And don't be afraid to set boundaries.
Because at the end of the day, you need to look out for yourself.
You do. Your career is your responsibility.
And while it's great to have positive relationships at work,
It is.
it's important to keep things in perspective.
Absolutely.
So I think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
It has, and it raises an even bigger question that the article doesn't really address.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if companies aren't families, then what responsibility do they have to their employees?
Yeah. Where does that line get drawn?
That's a tough one.
It is, but it's something worth thinking about.
It is.
Because the way we answer that question will shape the future of work.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.